What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Primetime Preview here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. It's episode 8. It's the 8th month of the year, August 1st. We're only a month away from the NFL and college football season, but summer is in full swing. We are excited to get to some great topics tonight. Of course, we're going to lead off with baseball. The trade deadline has come and gone. Who are the winners? Who are the losers? Who need to do more? Who needs to do less? Plus, we had baseball on a racetrack this weekend. We will dive into that and what that all means for the sport. We'll talk MLS with Leagues Cup underway. We'll talk NWSL is back tonight. What are some matches you should be looking forward to? The WNBA is in full swing. Liberty are struggling. Can the Aces bounce back against a dominant Lynx team? We've got PGA Tour nearing their FedEx Cup playoff. Women's Open out in Royal Porthcawl. We got tennis out in Canada. We got NASCAR this weekend, Formula One in Hungary. We got INCA action. So much to get into. I am happy that you're along for the ride, and we'll have some of our awesome IE Sports Radio insiders along the way to give you their extensive knowledge. It's all coming up next as we get you set for the weekend. Put down the remote control and let us be the remote control for you this week. It's the Primetime Preview, and it starts in just a little bit. And, of course, welcome back to the Primetime Preview here on IE Sports Radio. Yes, we are back. Fortunately, sudden circumstances caused us to take a break last week, but we're starting August, taking over your remote control and letting you know what you should watch in the world of sports this weekend. Want to remind you can follow us on X, TikTok, YouTube, at IE Sports Radio. Go to iesportsradio.com to learn the latest about our network, our insiders, our shows that appear every week. We've had some great ones debut in the last couple of weeks. Be sure to go to that. You can also follow me on X at Ganator555. And feel free to get involved in the chat. YouTube, Twitch, X. Let me know what you're watching this weekend. Give me some bold predictions for the weekend in sports. Before you know it, we'll have football to talk about, but we're a little bit away from that. That was an interesting Hall of Fame game last night. Apparently, Trey Lance has found something again. I don't know how long that'll be. Real quick, just on the NFL stuff, I know Micah Parsons requested a trade today. I'll believe people actually get traded in the NFL when I see it. Terry McLaurin, same thing. This is not the NBA. Just because you request a trade, you don't get to get a trade. It's the NFL, and sadly, it's how the world works. But you can feel free to chime in if you disagree with me. So let's talk baseball. Let's talk trade deadline that has come and gone. And joining me to talk some baseball trade deadline, one of our resident great insiders. He's a two-time champion on Fourth and Fun. So we're going to add that to his resume amongst a couple other things. Josh Ritter's in the house. Josh, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Ricky?
Doing good. So let's talk some trade deadline. And before we get into my 5 series of the weekend, who's your big winner and who's your big loser?
So my big winner is definitely Seattle. I love what they did. They have a lot of potential on the team, but I felt like they needed a little extra. And they went out and they were aggressive. And for a team that isn't always, they're kind of buried up there in the Pacific Northwest, and you wouldn't think that, they're gonna be aggressive. I was very impressed with what they did over this trade deadline. And they've got the goodwill with Cal Raleigh, and it's amazing that they kind of went all in, because they weren't winning the division. They weren't an obvious playoff team, but they said, we're going to push all our chips into the table here and we're going to do it. And I just love what they did. trying to pull up. Excuse me, I'm kind of last minute here, reminding myself the guys that they picked up. I know they picked up some guys from the Diamondbacks, but I love that they added a couple bats and deepened their lineup in a way that really makes them contenders in the AL, which is wide open right now. As
Yeah,
far
I
as
agree with that. You look at
oh, go ahead.
Suarez, you look at Josh Naylor. I really like now that with that pitching staff, Jerry DePoto kind of went in, but didn't really have to go all in. I mean, the Suarez deal, they didn't really give up that much for a rental, and it kind of I think surprised the industry when all the talk for the last 2 weeks was about who was going to get Suarez. That Suarez didn't net the Diamondbacks much back. Like Arizona got more
Right.
from Merrill Kelly.
Yeah, Suarez was the name that was escaping me. I had to look it up because I knew it was right on the tip of my tongue. And there was a stat last night that Glenn threw out on the Fourth and Fun podcast that now the Mariners have the most hits and the best RBIs in the Major League Baseball on their roster right now throughout the first 2/3 of the season, which I mean that's dangerous heading into the playoffs.
I agree, especially in the West. It's some crazy stuff. Before we do losers, a couple winners I had. Got to start with both New York teams. The Mets, I thought, did a really good job. Gregory Soto, Ryan Helsley from the Cardinals. I think he's going to be great with him and Edwin Diaz at the back end of games. And I think adding Cedric Mullins, who's a better center fielder than Tyrone Taylor. I know Taylor's getting the start tonight, but you add Mullins with Nimmo in that outfield. I think the Mets got a little bit stronger in the mix because the Phillies went out and they had an outfielder and formed Harrison Bader and Duran to close games from the Twins. I think the NL East matchups are going to be fun. And the Yankees showed you how you can revamp a bullpen in 4 hours because their bullpen heading into the day Thursday was an absolute mess. They were overworking Tim Hill, overworking Luke Weaver, overworking Devin Williams, and they added 2 more closers, David Bednar and Camilo Duvall. Got Jake Bird from the Rockies as well, and only gave up one of their top 10 prospects in Rafael Flores, none of them in the top 100. So Brian Cashman kind of wheeling and dealing and doing his thing. And you got to love A.J. Preller. A.J. Preller for the Padres is so much fun because he's the guy that doesn't care about your prospects, and he just deals people. To get Mason Miller, J.P. Sears, Brian O'Hearn, Ramon Laureano, this guy, when he's got a window, he maximizes on the window. Whether it works or not, I applaud Preller for at least trying. And you look at San Diego's bullpen with Miller and Suarez and Adam and Estrada. And I really think San Diego, I know they're probably not a dark horse. You kind of know the 6 teams that are going to be in the National League right now, unless Cincinnati and St. Louis can make a run. But I want no part of the Padres in a best of 3 in one of these wild card rounds if they don't win the division outright.
I agree. I mean, can you imagine a West Coast World Series of San Diego versus Seattle? I think that would be so fun and so unexpected. 2 teams that typically don't have these huge salary caps or salary expenditures, and they get to the World Series. That would be so fun in Major League Baseball and something that you wouldn't expect. So that would be cool. But you mentioned – oh, go ahead.
So we mentioned winners. So let's talk about some losers. What team do you think should have did more that didn't end up with much yesterday?
So you mentioned the Yankees and as a winner, and I agree. The loser to me was twofold, and it's the Rays and the Red Sox, because there's a huge arms race going on in the AL East. And the Yankees, of course, as you already mentioned, added a lot of talent to their rotation. The Blue Jays my team added Bieber, who is not only going to help them towards the tail end of this year, but he might be a fresh arm going into the postseason, as he hasn't really pitched much since the Tommy John surgery in April of 2024. But he's been doing some starts and looking really good in AAA. If they can bring him in September, you might have a fresh arm in the postseason, and then you get to keep him for several years to come. The Yankees did what they did, and really, like, the Red Sox looked good before the trade deadline, but they didn't really add anybody of note. And in the AL East right now, like, that's the margin. And a month ago, I actually predicted on a show that the Yankees would finish 4th. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think that the Rays and the Red Sox are going to take a step back. And those 2 teams had an opportunity to keep pace, and really make that a 4-team race for maybe three playoff spots. And right now, the Yankees and the Blue Jays look like they're head and shoulders above the other two teams.
Yeah, I agree with you there, especially when you consider the Red Sox told you that they saved a bunch of money by dealing away Rafael Devers, and they have all these young players, and you're looking to make a move. And for the second straight year, Craig Breslow has done nothing. And it just shows you that Sam Kennedy, John Henry, and the Red Sox aren't in it to win. I don't care about – I know starting pitchers didn't get dealt yesterday for the most part, which was a little weird outside of like Kelly and a couple other guys. But the Red Sox need to do more. I thought the Cubs need to do more. Like, I want the Cubs in on Sandy. I want the Cubs in on Joe Ryan. I want the Cubs in on Charlie Morton, who went to Detroit, and they left with Mike Soroka and Willie Castro. Like, I don't really know if that helps you get where you got to go when you have to maximize a one-year window with Kyle Tucker. I'm going to say the Twins, but at the same time, I kind of applaud Minnesota because they realize they're in a spot where they have to sell. They sold 10 players on their 26-man roster, but at the same time, they picked a lane. And I don't know about you, Josh, but I don't like teams that buy and sell. Like, I was a little annoyed at the Royals. Like, they're buying, but they're 3 out of a wild card. They're under 500. They give Seth Lugo an extension when you could get better now. Like, when I buy players for 2026 in the offseason of 2026, like, I don't think you need to pick a window on controllable guys. It just makes the market, I think, too murky, in my opinion. So I applaud Derek Falvey and the Twins for at least picking a lane and just going with it. But at the same time, keeping Joe Ryan when 25 other teams can give you a better package for Joe Ryan in the winter if you want to deal.
I completely agree. I mean, every site I've looked at says that the Twins are either the biggest loser or one of the losers. I don't agree with that. If you don't think your team is good enough, what's the point of keeping a lot of heavy assets when you can sell those off and rebuild your base and hopefully become something better in the future? So, I mean, baseball, the way that baseball works, not all these teams have infinite amounts of cash. If you're the Angels or the Yankees, it doesn't make sense to be big sellers because you're willing to spend $300, $400, $500 million on your cap. But a lot of these smaller market teams just aren't able to do that. And if you don't think you're going to make the playoffs, what's the point in keeping those guys on your roster? Get young talent, develop them, and look to the future.
Exactly. And the team you mentioned, the Angels as well, like, pick a lane. Like, they went and didn't do sold or bought, and it was kind of really confusing to me on that one. So I like that point there. So let's get into my normal segment, which is 5 series to watch. For those who don't know, I picked 5 series that you should watch from 5 to 1 each weekend. I'm going to admit, Josh, it's a little bit of a rough weekend in baseball, but I'm going to have you lead at least with this one, number 5. And this is only number 5 because of where it is. It's Braves-Reds at Bristol Motor Speedway tomorrow night. I think it's going to be so much fun. Baseball on a NASCAR track, home runs that hit the track and don't even land where the fans can actually catch it. I think the ballpark configuration is a little bit weird, but I kind of like baseball taking a chance and trying something new, a standalone event in the summer. It's 2 pitchers from the state of Tennessee going against each other in Spencer Strider and Chase Burns. So that's going to be an exciting pitching matchup. It'd be much better if the Braves were in it. It'd be much better if Ronald Acuna was healthy for this. I think that was such a big disappointment that now he won't be playing in this game. But the Reds got something to play for, and I think this matchup tomorrow night is going to be so much fun. What are your thoughts on baseball on a NASCAR track? And we talked about on Bullpen Bulletin Tuesdays, there's something baseball you think could do, a cool venue, a different type of atmosphere. Like, we've seen Field of Dreams. We've seen a game at a military base. What do you think?
I love it. I love it. I think baseball has been kind of stuck for many, many years in kind of its own little bubble of this is how we do it. And I can see baseball starting to expand. They got the pitch clock now. They've got the rule about extra innings. They're starting to expand into things like this, where like the NHL does this, right? Like, they're going to play an outdoor game in Florida in January. Like, they think outside the box, and baseball is starting to think outside the box now for the first time. And I think that is so healthy for the sport. They've been kind of held captive by folks who really wanted to hold on to the tradition from 40, 50 years ago when baseball was really the big game in town. And it's just not that anymore. And in order to stay relevant, you have to think outside the box. And I think this is a great way to do it. Create an atmosphere that's entirely different, that brings people. I mean, like you said, Atlanta, Cincinnati in a vacuum, playing in downtown Cincinnati. How many people is that going to draw? 6, 7, 8,000 people. Where if you go to a motor speedway and create its own atmosphere, you're going to get tens of thousands of people. And honestly, that's what it should be about, is creating buzz around your sport. And I think it's fabulous. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. You had both teams last night actually score 8 runs in the 8th inning, which was a really cool thing in Cincinnati. The Braves ended up winning. But the Reds need these games. They're 3 back in the wild card, and they have to figure out a way to keep this going, despite adding Brian Hayes, despite adding Miguel Andujar. They're going to have to find a way to get on a win streak to stay in this race. Number 4, I went with Dodgers and Rays. This was close between the Giants and Mets. I took that series off because the Mets swept the Giants last week and the Giants sold. So it's like rehashing the Mets. I didn't really want to do that. I actually like the fact Blake Snell is going to pitch Saturday, returning in Tampa. I know it's not Tropicana Field, but that's still going to be a pretty cool thing for him. Your matchups for this one, it's Steinbrenner Field. It's Clayton Kershaw against Shane Baz tonight, Blake Snell against Drew Rasmussen Saturday, and Yamamoto against Joe Boyle on Sunday. You mentioned the Rays struggling. They've lost 3 straight. They saw Caballero get dealt to the other dugout yesterday. Jonathan Aranda got hurt yesterday. Just a weird thing going on in Tampa. But again, when you look at the wild card, they're not that far off. 2 games under 500, but 4 back. So the Rays could use a big weekend if they can get it against a Dodger team that was kind of fading before the All-Star break, still has a lead in the West. Number 3, it's Astros Red Sox. I love this one. Alex Bregman faces his old team. Red Sox, as we said, didn't do a lot at the deadline, but nevertheless still in the mix. And Carlos Correa is back in Houston. I think that's going to be a big thing for the Astros. He's not the Correa of old, but that's a jolt in that clubhouse to get him back. They love him there. He's going to play third base next to Jeremy Pena. And I think that's going to provide something for Houston. It's Hunter Brown against Cooper Criswell tonight. Tomorrow it is Gordon against Walker Buehler. And then Sunday morning, Framber Valdez and Lucas Giolito. Number 2, it's going to be a World Series preview possibly. Tigers-Phillies in Philadelphia.
I thought that was number 1.
We're going to get to number 1. This was close. This was close. But number 2, I think because I like both these teams. I don't think it's an end-all, be-all for either one. Neither team is really facing – Phillies are facing pressure by the Mets, but Detroit not so much. I am interested in Sunday night. We'll get into that. Jack Flaherty against Ranger Suarez. And just shortly, there's a ceremony going on in Phillies. That's delaying the start of that one. Tomorrow, it is going to be Tarek Skubal against Zach Wheeler. So that is absolutely phenomenal pitching matchup. And then Sunday Night Baseball, it is Melton for Detroit. Actually, I think AJ Hinch said it's Charlie Morton Sunday, making his Tigers debut against Christopher Sanchez. So some good matchups there. But number 1, you already talked about this team. And here, I'm going to give you the why I made it number 1. You can disagree with me after the fact. It's Rangers-Mariners. And the reason I have this is because not only are both these teams fighting in the West, Seattle's 4.5 back, Texas 5.5 back. They're fighting in the wild card. Seattle's a game up on Texas. But when you think about it, there's no more 163s. It's all division. Like if you have the tiebreaker head to head, you win. So these games essentially are like 2 games for both of these teams. The Rangers went out and added Merrill Kelly. We'll see if that means Jack Leiter gets down or Kumar Rocker goes down, because I love what Texas with Kelly and Evaldi and DeGrom. Seattle, of course, with George Kirby and Castillo. They've got a lot going on. Seattle won last night, convincing fashion. It is a Patrick Corbin against Evans on Sunday. On Saturday, it's DeGrom and Castillo. That's a heck of a matchup. And then tonight, it's going to be Jack Leiter and Logan Gilbert. So you said Detroit Philly would be number 1 on your list. Any thoughts on my list? Did I leave a series out that you like? I'm open to all interpretations here.
No, I mean, an honorable mention to the Giants and the Mets. I think that's a fun series, but I think you basically got it right. I can see how you could give the nod to the divisional matchup with Texas and Seattle. That is huge, and that that little extra bit with the rivalry in the division always makes it a little bit extra. the reason, of course, why Detroit and Philadelphia made sense is that is a viable World Series preview, and those are two of the best teams in baseball. So that's just going to be a fun watch. I love the Boston and Tampa Bay being 3 and 4 because really what we talked about earlier, the rubber could meet the road for those two teams this weekend because there's the potential for both of those teams to get swept by the teams they're playing. And concurrently, Toronto is playing Kansas City, and the Yankees who are they playing? They're playing a not so great team either. Let me go. Thank you, Miami. This could separate those teams really quickly. Already Toronto and the Yankees are on the top 2 spots. This could really separate the AL East over the weekend. So it makes sense that, it's really on Boston and Tampa Bay to at least win 2 of the 3 games in those series to stay viable in the AL East. Because if they don't, it could get to the point where by the end of August, this is a 2-team race. And I'm not totally sure that you're going to even get in the wild card at that point because the AL is so jumbled that there's no clear favorite, and the wild card race is going to come down to margins here. And as teams play the division matchups in September, if you're not in a position to win, it can be very difficult.
Yankees Marlins, I think, was close for me, not just because from the New York side, but it's Jazz's return to Miami. Stanton, of course, back in Miami. And the Yankees made an interesting statement today. By adding all the relievers, they released Marcus Stroman. So that it's not that I know Stroman wasn't great, but it also shows you the Yankees put a lot of faith in Will Warren. Luis Heel comes back Sunday against Edward Cabrera. And Cam Schlittler now becomes a huge part of this team, whether it be as a 5th starter, whether it be as in the bullpen in the postseason with his 99-mile-an-hour fastball. But the Yankees are now showing, hey, we believe in this kid by releasing a guy that wasn't going to make it. But your Blue Jays definitely have,
bring Stroman back. Right now. Bring Stroman back. I remember when Stroman was pitching for us, and he was a lot of fun. So I'm saying bring Stroman back.
I'm interested to see where he goes, too. They were talking about him in foul territory today. Does he want to go to a team where he's going to start, or does he want to go to a team that's going to go for a World Series? I'm really intrigued by that.
I would love him as a middle reliever for the Blue Jays. They need more help there, and he would be a fabulous 2-inning pitcher for us. I would love to see it. I don't know if it'll happen, but man, that'd be fun. And to go back and maybe win a game against the Yankees later in the year when it's really matters would be a lot of fun.
So before we let you go, Josh, tell listeners out there how they can follow you on X and all the diverse amount of teams and sports you cover for us.
Yeah, so I'm all over the place. I am not a local guy. I follow the Miami Dolphins and the Florida Panthers out in South Florida, but then I also am, as you know, a Blue Jays fan. I'm a Phoenix Suns fan, Oregon Ducks, North Carolina Tar Heels basketball. So I'm kind of all over the place. You can find me at Josh Ritter 13 on X, and I'm working on building my TikTok following as well. Josh.Ritter 57 on TikTok, and post all of my IE Sports Radio videos out there. So if you want to come check that out, please do.
Be sure to check out Josh's stuff. And of course, he's got that reign on 4th and Fun. He's got to keep trying to win all these championships that we have in all these game shows here. Josh, thanks for hopping on, and keep up the great work, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Reed. Take care.
So that was Josh Ritter talking some baseball with us. We're going to take a quick timeout. We'll come back. We'll have another Ritter joining us. Glenn Ritter will be here to talk. Maybe we'll get his thought on the Twins, but we'll also get his thoughts on the actual good team in Minnesota lately. It'll be the Lynx and the WNBA. You're listening to the Primetime Preview on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all the sports. We'll be right back talking some WNBA after this.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm. single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
And welcome back to the Primetime Preview here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all this sports. We are your remote control for the weekend in sports. Check the comments here. And again, YouTube, Twitch, X. Send your thoughts. What are you looking forward to watch this weekend? Any bold predictions that you have? Taryn Rodriguez, the man behind the glass this year. Of course, Larry B is in the chat. Yep, it is Ritter Squared, because joining us now as we get into the world of WNBA. You can find him every Thursday as the host of Fourth and Fun. Our own Alex Trebek here on the show. Glenn Ritter. Glenn, how are you, my friend?
Oh, doing fantastic, Ricky. How about you?
Doing pretty good. So before we get into the WNBA and the Minnesota Lynx in particular, we got to let you talk because we kind of talked about the Twins while you were in the background. I know you're probably itching to talk about it. And like I'll talk about what I said earlier. I love they picked a lane. It's got to be one of those hurtful things. But I also love that Derek Falvey sent out a letter to the fan base explaining what was going on and having that transparency. Because I saw it here in New York with the Rangers. You can sell in a big market as long as you let your fans know what the heck is going on and actually putting revealed behind the curtain. So I do applaud the Twins for trying it. Well, if it'll work or not, we'll see. And they did hang on to Joe Ryan. But at least I like that, hey, this is where we're going. This is the plan. Now it's time to see if it works. What were your thoughts?
Well, I was pretty shocked yesterday, and actually the last couple of days with the number of trades. Chris Paddock being traded wasn't a surprise to me. He's an expiring contract. Randy Dobnak, again, is a guy that they had under contract and traded him to Detroit, but he'd been in the minors for a few years. He was up on the big league club for a season or two. But then when they traded Duran to Philly, it got me thinking, okay, they're serious about sending out some of these guys and really moving some of the expiring contracts and some of the trying to accumulate some assets. I don't mind a lot of those a lot of the trades that they made, especially Willie Castro, Harrison Bader, Brock Stewart. All of those guys were expiring contracts. They were going to leave in free agency anyway, getting some prospects for them. I like the idea of trading Carlos Correa's contract, just to get out of it. Essentially, they're paying $30 million ish out of the $106 million that he's still owed over the next 3 seasons. And they had to take a player back, but it was a 26-year-old relief pitcher that is in high A ball. So with a 6.5 ERA, not somebody that's that's going to stick around at all. I guess my frustration with it has been, it goes back to the 2023 season, with just the ownership group. At that point, we finally win a series after 20 years of not making it out of the first round of the playoffs, not winning a playoff game. They beat the Toronto Blue Jays. Sorry, Josh. And lose to the Astros. And then after the season's over, they just make the decision, okay, we're going to cut $30 million in payroll. So for a small market team, $30 million is about 20% of their payroll. And so when you have a team that's successful, winning with pitching, defense, and some timely hitting, it was a good mix. But then, to be honest, most Minnesota Twins fans, especially me, I've been just down on the Twins since that point, because I wasn't surprised when they fell apart last year during the after being in one of the almost a 90% lock to make the playoffs, to get a wild card spot at least, and they just completely fell apart. I understand trying to sell some players for prospects. I just didn't expect them to trade off some guys that had some control left in the contracts, with Duran, Jax, and Louis Varland. Those are kind of the 3 guys that they had that could potentially be closers, which if you're not going to compete this year, what's the point in keeping some of these bullpen guys? So I do like that fact. I feel like it was, and I haven't read Derek Falvey's statement, but just based on my perceptions of things, this was a move by the owners, the Polad group, to try and get sell the team, which is what I've been clamoring for since the offseason when they said they were going to be selling the team. So I like that they got some good prospects back. And some players that they can put into their rotation. I like the fact that they've got 3 solid starting pitchers for next season in Joe Ryan, Pablo Lopez, who's injured right now, and Bailey Ober, who's also been injured, but has been really effective recently. They've got guys like Simeon Woods Richardson, David Festa, Zebby Matthews, now Nick Abel, and trying to think of the guy that they got from the Rays, pitcher. Taj Bradley, yes. So they've got some good starting pitching, which I love the fact that they're focusing on pitching, because they do have they've drafted well when it comes to hitters, with Brooks Lee, Royce Lewis. Let me see who else do they have. I'm trying to think. Obviously, Walker. Drawing a blank on his first name. Super high draft pick. Anyway, he's up in the double A now. He's not going to be up to the majors anytime soon, but getting some guys that can, some hitters, young hitters to come up. I think Brooks Lee's going to step in at short. Royce Lewis is going to stay at third. I think Edward Julian's going to be back in at second base. When I'm looking at for the team tonight, there was a lot of who's this guy? Let me see here. The one that was, oh gosh, I can't find it here on my page. There was one of the guys that they, Alan Rodin, who I can't remember which trade he came in, but they've got Matt Wallner. They brought up Austin Martin from AAA, who had been on the team last year. So I think it's good that they've got some pitching, some starting pitching. They're going to have to rebuild the bullpen in the offseason. hopefully build around all of these young guys, which I don't mind that. But again, I just want them to once the poll ad sell the team, then then I'll be happy. So
Yeah, I think it also, like you said, 2023, it also goes back to last year. I mean, Twins were a playoff team. The bulk of last year collapsed, and nobody paid the price for that. Like Rocco Baldelli, I'm sorry, I'm not a big proponent of managers getting fired, but when a team collapses, usually it falls on the manager. So to keep Baldelli, and then they get off to a weird start this year, like to me, that was kind of the interesting of where they are. And I like they got young pitching. It works. And you look at this division, the Twins can get back to it in no time because, yes, Detroit's good, but what is Cleveland's future? Because Clase, who knows if we're ever going to see him again. Stephen Kwan, I think, is going to get dealt in the winter. They didn't deal him now, but I think they're going to deal him in the winter anyway. And Kansas City, like I said, is hit or miss. The White Sox are the White Sox. So the Twins could rebuild and be back in near this division at any point. It's not necessarily a 5-year rebuild, which I think helps.
Right. Although, I mean, I think a lot of those prospects are probably at least 2 or 3 years away from contributing to the big league club. But they do have some guys at AAA, and I think they brought up 8 players today after all the trades to fill out the lineup. So, yeah, I could see a quick turnaround. Again, provided starting pitching stays healthy, and I think with those young guys, they've got enough depth in there to withstand an injury or two. That's one thing is this year and last year too, they didn't have the pitching depth to withstand injuries. They were relying on some of the young guys last year to keep the team above water should anybody get hurt. Well, when Joe Ryan got hurt last year and missed several months of the season, that was about the time that they really started to fall apart. So it was a lot of those kinds of things. And I think, to be honest, I think there's just a lot of apathy around the whole franchise just because of the way the poll ends have handled it. So anyway, that's my soapbox that I like to get on with when I'm talking about the Twins. So, but yeah, I think they can come back.
So let's talk about the good team in your area, and that's the Minnesota Lynx, who really took it to the Liberty the other day. And like you and I were talking a little bit during the week, I kind of wish that this game, the Liberty were healthier for. Brianna Stewart gets a bone bruise at her leg. She's out. Kennedy Burke's out. Yara Sabali's out. Liberty signed 2019 WNBA Finals MVP Emma Messerman, just to try to have some kind of depth on the roster. We'll get to the Liberty in a minute, but Nafisa Collier, who I at least applaud her for saying and ripping the WNBA that Lynx Liberty should have been the opening game of the year. The fact that they're playing 3 times in a week or 2 week span is ridiculous. Collier, who was excellent the other night, she had 30 points, 9 boards, 11 to 16 shooting. Right now, the Lynx are on a whole other planet. I put in here, they're playing the Aces on Saturday. The Lynx aren't afraid of the Aces because they just blew them out by 31 in the last matchup. So what are your thoughts on where Minnesota's at? They got to go to Vegas, but they're favored by almost 6 points. They're 23-5. I mean, Cheryl Reeve, it looks like they're on a revenge tour from last year, and Collier definitely is the MVP, I would think, as of right now.
Yeah, so a lot of things to unpack right there. I think number one, Cheryl Reeve is, I think, the best coach in the NBA. She's also the president of operations. So she constructs the entire roster. I think last year's team seemed like they really overperformed and really came out of nowhere to make it to the finals. But they played very, very well as a team. And they're doing the same thing this year. Nafisa Collier is absolutely fantastic. She is the MVP in my mind of the WNBA because of everything that she can do. And so I don't think that the Lynx should really be overly concerned about any team in the WNBA. Obviously, they're going to lose some games like they did to Chicago just a week or two ago. And also the game against the Dream. And that was one of the things that I've kind of noticed is the one potential chink in the armor, I guess, is the lack of a long center, right? Just somebody with some length there. I mean, they're playing with Alana Smith, 6'4" as their starting center, but going against the Jonquel Jones, Brittany Griner, Camila Cardosa, they just don't. They're not going to be able to really push those players like that out of the lane. And so, if their shots are not falling, which is the key to the success of the Lynx, is they pass the ball really well. They're a very unselfish team. They have a really good offense, but if the jump shots aren't falling, they can be beat. Kayla McBride is kind of the litmus test for the team. If her jump shots are falling, if she's hitting threes, look out. And that's what kind of happened against the Aces last weekend when they played. I mean, everybody was hitting their shots. They were hitting threes. Asia Wilson was pretty much shut down, but you can't expect that to happen again. They're also, I mean, they are a pretty good defensive team. Nafisa Collier, again, last year's Defensive Player of the Year, it just does a phenomenal job playing defense as well and leading the entire group. They all play a very tough, tenacious defense. So I think they, I think they're playing really well, and I think the Aces will probably put up more of a fight this game, but the Aces are just haven't been kind of in sync from what I've seen especially in that game against the Lynx.
Yeah, it just hasn't clicked for Becky Hammond's squad this year. I know Asia Wilson had a huge game against the Sparks. She had 34 last game. Jackie Young had a triple-double. But it's been a very inconsistent year for Vegas, and that's been a little bit of a concern. But at the same time, 2nd through 6th in the WNBA is separated by only 2-3 games, while the Lynx have clearly outdone themselves. A couple of big matchups this weekend. Mercury and the Dream coming up in about 20 minutes or so. Dream beat the Mercury early this year. No Ryan Howard for Atlanta, but Alicia Gray with 28 in the first matchup. Alyssa Thomas, of course, is good for Phoenix. So I think it's a fun matchup. And Glenn, I would think two teams that could face the Lynx in the postseason. You mentioned Atlanta's already one of the teams actually beaten Minnesota. So this should be a fun one to watch, I think, down in Georgia.
Oh, I agree totally. That was I was looking at that during the last segment when you were talking with Josh. I was looking at some of the matchups for this weekend and looking at that, seeing that two teams that almost have identical records. Alicia Gray was fantastic in that game against the Lynx. Alyssa Thomas. Again, she's a fantastic player as well. So for the Mercury, it's going to be a toss-up. I don't know exactly what the line is for the game, but either one of them can make some noise in the playoffs, and so it's going to be interesting to see how they do that, how that game goes. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, right now, according to ESPN, Bet Phoenix favored on the road by 3.5. So it's actually a really interesting matchup tonight. The other big one this weekend is Sunday at 3 Eastern on ABC. It is noon Pacific time. Indiana at Seattle. Seattle's kind of weird. They'll either score 60 points or they'll score 100 points. They've been a very inconsistent offense. Skylar Diggins played great. She had a triple-double last game. She had a triple-double in the All-Star game as well. And I think you look at Indiana, Caitlin Clark's been banged up. I think that's been kind of an issue for the Fever. But they have made a couple of moves that I think can help them going forward, which will be great. They added Chloe Bibby from Australia for a short-term stint. We'll see if that helps. But Kelsey Mitchell's been having a good year and helping out there. And I think that'll be a fun one just to see what Seattle can do on a consistent basis. So keep an eye on that one. And then, as you said, the Liberty tonight against Connecticut. They'll play Connecticut twice this weekend. That should help them. And I'm not worried about this team. I think actually, Glenn, they put up a good fight considering I thought Minnesota was going to blow them out of the gym the other night, and I wouldn't have been mad if they did. But for the Liberty to respond after really a no-show effort against Dallas, which was really disappointing, I think they're going to be fine. I love what Sandy Brondello said, and I agree with her. get Brianna Stewart right for the postseason. The regular season doesn't matter to this team. They've won a championship already. They don't need to be the top seed or even a 2 seed to do that. If they can get things going again, I still think they're the team that's going to challenge Minnesota at the end if they can get everybody right in time for the postseason.
Yeah, I agree. The Liberty, the fact that they have lost 3 in a row is surprising. They were very much in that game against the Lynx. So they went on an 11-0 run to bring it within 4 in the fourth quarter with about a minute left in the game. And it was they turned it up a notch. In Ionescu, she was hitting lots of threes, really keeping the team in the game. And again, Jonquel Jones is just a beast inside, and pulling down every rebound, every shot that the Lynx missed. It was a one and done. So if like I said, they're not hitting shots, the Lynx are in trouble. But the Liberty are, they're going to be very good. And I do look forward to the next set of matchups between the Lynx and Liberty here in a week or so. I think they play. It's funny that they play 3 times in 9 days. Mm-hmm. Those are the only 3 games that the Lynx are playing, and the Liberty have 2 others in their schedule between the 9th or 10th and the 19th through the 19th. I think is when they I think those are the dates that they face each other.
Yeah, Liberty and the Lynx play the 10th, as you mentioned, that's next Sunday at Barclays, and then August 16th in Minnesota. That's a CBS Saturday game. So National League games are both. Liberty have basically 4 games before that point. So this is a really packed August schedule for them, but they get a lot of wings and sun, and they played a really difficult schedule, I think, early in the year, which I think is going to help them as they get some more players involved. And real quick, trade deadline is Thursday. I'm not sure if we've seen any big rumors in terms of blockbusters. I don't think we're going to get like a baseball style trade deadline, but you never know what might happen, and we'll recap it all next week on the show. But I don't know, Glenn, is real quick, has there been any rumors about what Minnesota could add or anything like that between now and Thursday?
No, I haven't seen anything about the Lynx at all. I think that they're pretty happy with the team that they've got. In fact, they just released Alyssa Peely, who was the first round pick that they drafted last season when they traded back with Chicago, so Chicago could select Angel Reese. So she just got released. So I don't know that they've really got anybody else. I think they've added a player from overseas, another taller player, but hasn't really gotten worked into the system yet. But I don't think they'll be necessarily adding any players.
Yeah, I think what's going to be more interesting is those teams that are near the bottom of the standings trying to make a push for the postseason. A team like Golden State losing Kayla Thornton for the rest of the year. Do they go out and make a significant trade to boost their playoff chances? Right now, they're at 13-13. Do the Mystics, who have a lot of good young players, do they go out there and they trade for a veteran? Do you look at a team like Seattle? Do they try to make a push to help their offense? Because you could see what does Connecticut have the teams want? What does Chicago have besides Angel Reese the teams want? Dallas, Johnny Carrington is going to be one to watch in that one. The Sparks with I'm trying to think of Leah Edwards, somebody like that. Sparks, sure. They just got Cameron Brink back, which is great. So what are those bottom teams, those middle teams, those Golden States, those Washingtons? What do they do considering the gap is so small? Like as I said, between second and it looks like 8th or 9th is 4 games, which I think is really good for the league. But Glenn, where we can find your work, let us know where we can find you on social media and talk about Fourth and Fun. I had fun watching it last night. What should listeners expect every Thursday? All
right. Yeah. So again, Glenn Ritter, Minnesota Insider. So you can find me on X. So I've got the Minnesota_IESR account, but also my personal account is Gritter13. Again on X. Fourth and Fun. Okay, so the premise for the whole show is to do some trivia kinds of questions and have some discussions with that. And again, just have fun with it. So basically, I try to find some, look at the things that are happening in the sports world. So last night we focused a lot on the trade deadline and, some historical deadline trades and things like that, and which teams made some good improvements. And then the Hall of Fame ceremony happening this weekend. Hall of Fame game was last night. So just talking a little bit about that and some of the, some of the processes that they've gone through and changed with the voting. So because there's a smaller class this year. So just always trying to find some kind of quirky little things that are going on in sports, a little under the radar kind of stuff, and seeing what kind of trivia masters we have on the IE Sports Radio team. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, be sure to check out that show every Thursday to add my answer to one of Glenn's things. Who got snubbed the most? I don't know. How we don't have a kicker in the Hall of Fame that's made won two Super Bowls on field goals. And Adam Vinatieri. Yeah. I hope he gets in it at some point, because he also, in addition to those kicks, had the most iconic kick, I think, in the history of the NFL, which was the kick in the blizzard. That was like a 45-yard field goal that nobody could see the ball go through. That's how impressive that kick was. So just wanted to add my 2 cents.
Yeah, that's a good point. He was one of the finalists that missed the cut for this year's class. So all right,
be sure to check that out every Thursday. Glenn's doing a great job. Glenn, keep the great work, and we'd love to have you on again soon.
Thank you. For the time. Oh, I'd love to be on. Thanks, Ricky.
So that's Glenn Ritter. We're talking some WNBA. That was a lot of fun. Be sure to, again, check out that show every Thursday, part of the new weekend shows lineup. So before we take our next break, let's talk some soccer. We got Leagues Cup going on in MLS. Now, this is a little bit different. The season is kind of taken a little bit on the back burner because of Leagues Cup. But it's also a pretty fun in-season event. Basically, the tournament, 36 teams, 18 from MLS, 18 from Liga MX. They're going to have a phase one where they kind of play against each other. Then there's a knockout round. Top 4 teams from each league will go to the knockout stage. The top 3 teams will have a chance to play for the CONCACAF Champions Cup in 26, which could eventually get them into the FIFA Club World Cup. So we've had some real interesting scores and things to go through. We had Miami get a win as well. There's been some fun matchups. Let's dive into a few of them. We also do have some going on right now. So let's talk about those real quick. And let's start with what's going on. So your matchups, Columbus is taking on Puebla tonight. That game is 0-0 right now. And NYCFC, who got blown out the other night, needing a statement win. They're up 2-0 on Lyon in the 50th minute. So there are other matchups tonight. Houston against Mazatlan, Toluca against CF Montreal, LAFC against Pachuca. Now that's a fun matchup. That's at 10:30 Eastern. And you look at this matchup, both these teams were in the FIFA World Cup. Pachuca picked up a win over San Diego in the first matchup. And San Diego, LAFC is definitely something to watch out for here. And it's Tigres against San Diego. That's 11 o'clock on FS1, 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific. Andres Dreyer's out for San Diego due to a red card suspension. Pablo Cisniega is in goal, so a new goaltender here. Tigres are playing great. They got 4 goals in their first matchup. That's the most they've had in one of these games. And Angel Correa had 2 goals in that game. So Tigres could be a real sneaky team in this tournament. You got Orlando against Atlas tomorrow. Miami against Necaxa. Club America takes on Minnesota United. That's at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific kickoff on FS1. UNAM against Atlanta. Salt Lake against Atletico San Luis. Portland against Querétaro. That's at 11 tomorrow night on FS1. And then Sunday, Cincinnati against Juarez. Monterrey against the Red Bulls. Guadalajara takes on Charlotte. That's an FS1 kickoff at 7:50. Colorado against Tijuana. LA Galaxy against Cruz Azul. This is an interesting one as well because the LA Galaxy actually played pretty well in their first Leagues Cup matchup. They beat Tijuana 5-2. So that's going to be a real interesting game. And then Seattle will take on Santos at 10:30. So some interesting matchup. We'll have more next week as we get closer to the knockout stages in Leagues Cup quarterfinals. For that will be from August 8th to 20th. So we'll look ahead to the quarterfinals on next week's show. NWSL is back in action tonight. We have 3 games to look forward to there. The KC Current trying to keep their dominant form. They're against Racing Louisville. Seattle against Angel City at 10:30 NWSL Plus. Can Kristen Press get her 50th career goal? And then Chicago against Gotham. This is going to be a real interesting game because Chicago right now is, of course, toward the bottom of the standings. Gotham is 8th at 18 points. Esther Gonzalez is back from the Euros, so she'll try to have a dominant run there. Jess Carter's back from the Euros. Gotham was starting to play well up until the pause. They're at a +5 goal differential yet, or toward the bottom of the league table, so they're going to need to bounce back. That'll be tonight at 8 o'clock. You have Ali Setnor. She joined Kansas City from Utah, so we'll see how Setnor does in her debut in this one tonight. Tomorrow, it's North Carolina against San Diego and Bay FC against Houston. The game of the week is Sunday afternoon, 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific on ABC. It is Washington against Portland. Ashley Hatch leads Washington with 6 goals. They've got a pretty strong midfield, but keep an eye on Portland. They've got a good balance attack with Rylan Turner, Pietro Torden, and Jaden Perry. Of course, Sam Coffey doing a good job in that midfield with Jesse Fleming. So something to keep an eye on there in the world of NWSL. So we're going to take one more break. We'll come back. We'll talk some golf, PGA Tour nearing the playoffs. We got a women's major. We have tennis just a few weeks away from the U.S. Open. We'll talk about what's going on out in Canada and some signature events there, and then we'll get into the world of auto racing. You're listening to the Primetime Preview on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all this sports. We'll be right back after a word from Larry B.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go. For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back here to the Primetime Preview on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Get you set for this weekend. We've talked some baseball. We've talked WNBA. We've talked soccer. So let us know again on YouTube, Twitch, X. What are you looking forward to in sports? What's your bold predictions for this weekend? I want to know what's on your TV guide, just like I'm telling you what's on my TV guide for the first weekend in August. Let's go to golf. PGA Tour in its last event before the FedEx Cup playoffs. Every player trying to get to that top 70 But it's very important as well to move up in the standings because after next week's first playoff event, only the top 50 will move on to BMW Championship and will get locked into signature events for next year. So that makes it very important. This event's out at the Sedgefield Country Club in Greensboro, North Carolina. Second round is not in the books just yet. It got suspended due to rain. Cameron Young is your leader right now. He's at 7 under through the first 15 holes on his second round. He was 5 under on the front 9. He had made birdies at 14 and 15 before the suspension of play. He had a 63 yesterday. Aaron Rye from England, who does very well on this course, he is 13 under, 1 shot back. There are a couple other players trying to make that top 70. One is Mac Meisner. He's been out in 31. He got 63 today, 7 under par. So he is 12 under. Mark Hubbard as well. He shot a 66, 4 under, 5 birdies, 1 bogey on the day. He is 3 shots back. Those guys probably need to win or get close to the top to get into the top 70. Some notables, Gary Woodland is 9 under, 5 shots back. Kirk Kitayama is 6 under through his first 13 holes on Friday. He, of course, won last week at the 3M Open. Some other names, disappointments, at least for this week so far. Tony Finau is 5 under. He's 8 shots back. Matsuyama's 4 under. Matthew Fitzpatrick is 4 under. Jordan Spieth, he was 5 under yesterday, but he's +1 in the second round at 4 under par. Right now, the cut is 3 under. So we'll see. Jordan Spieth only has a few holes left in his second round. Can he make the cut and advance to the rest of the weekend? And again, next week will be the FedEx St. Jude, which will be the first event of the playoffs. Out in Royal Porthcawl, it is the AIG Women's Open. And this has been a really lopsided field so far. Miyu Yamashita, she leads. She shot a 65 in round 2. She's at 11 under, 3 shots over her fellow countryman from Japan, Ryo Takeda. There's a 4-way tie for third right now, but all those players are 7 shots off the lead. So this could be a 2-woman race out at Royal Porthcawl for this major championship. And the course was very difficult on Friday. Only 11 ladies shot under 70. So it gives you how Takeda and Yamashita are playing, separating themselves from the rest of the field heading into the weekend. So that should be a lot of fun. We do not have a live golf event this week. Let's talk some tennis. Out north of the border in Canada is the ATP 1000, the WTA 1000. Remember, we're only like 3 weeks away from the U.S. Open. So the hard court season is in full swing. We'll give you some updates on what's going on there. Right now, Taylor Fritz is in action against Diallo from Canada in the 3rd round. Remember, those two had a tough 5-set match at Wimbledon just a few weeks ago. Fritz is up in the first set in that one. Andre Rublev won today. Good win for Francis Tiafoe. He was tied a set all, but able to win it in 3 sets over Vukic from Australia. And then later tonight, Ben Shelton takes the court against Brandon Nakashima, fellow American. So that should be a fun one there. Alexander Zverev picked up a win on Friday. He's the top seed. He advanced to the round of 16 and in so getting his 500th career win. So congrats to Zverev on that accomplishment. Matchups at least for tomorrow. Alex Michelson, he's 26 seed, taking on another American in Lerner Tien. And Zverev will take on Cerundolo from Argentina. Meanwhile, on the women's side, out in Montreal, Coco Gauff is into the round of 16. She will play a qualifier in Boko tomorrow from Canada. Good to see her rebound after a tough Wimbledon. Jessica Pegula, though, has continued to struggle. She lost in round 3 to Sevastova from Latvia in 3 sets. So she is out, but Madison Keys got a big 3 sets win over Katie McNally. And Amanda Anisimova is in action later tonight against Emma Raducanu. Of course, Anisimova made the finals at Wimbledon a few weeks ago. In terms of tomorrow, got another American in action, Maddie Kessler, the 28th seed against Kostyuk from the Ukraine. So a couple Americans trying to make a push there to advance. This is another one of those. It's not a major, but it's a very signature event. You've got Canada this week and next week, and then Cincinnati will get started. Cincinnati is one of those also very key events in the calendar in the tennis season. To the world of auto racing we go. Let's head out to Iowa for the NASCAR Iowa Corn 350. What a great name for a race. That is on Sunday. And, of course, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty of it. It's the final events before the playoff. We saw Bubba Wallace get a really great win at the Brickyard last week. Bubba Wallace, of course, getting himself better into playoff position. And this is a fun track in Iowa. If you look at it, Newton, it's about a 0.875-mile oval. It's a great atmosphere. You got bumping, slipping, so much going on. I think it's going to make for a good short track event. And the championship is pretty close right now. 20 points apart between 4 drivers. Chase Elliott leads William Byron, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin in that race. But there are some interesting storylines to follow as we get closer to this event. Chris Boucher right now has that last playoff spot over Ryan Preece. But keep in mind this, Preece is racing very well right now. He got a top 5 at Brickyard last week. He's won on this track, not in NASCAR, but he's won on the Xfinity Series at this event. So this could be the one that kind of gets Preece's season going, as well as Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick is also trying to be that last 4. He hasn't had a win yet this year. So can Tyler Reddick maybe find a way to get things going and get himself into that mix? So it's really, to me, the playoffs, I think, are the big thing here. You got to win to get those playoff points. I think that's what's great about, even though NASCAR keeps changing the points race, it seems like every other year, every couple of years, there's still some dramas. We got about a few races left before we get into the playoffs. Out in Hungary, it is the Hungarian Grand Prix. Of course, right now it's been all McLaren. McLaren's been dominating this year, and it continued on Friday. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri were great in the Friday practice session. They had the fastest laps. Norris edged out Piastri in that one. Piastri, of course, is the reigning champion at the Hungarian Grand Prix, so that's been a lot of fun. It was a rough one for Max Verstappen. He had a rough practice session as well. We'll see if he can recover. The Red Bull race car has not exactly been working for him lately. If you're looking for a sleeper at this event, I keep an eye on Lewis Hamilton. He has finished on the podium 7 of the last 9 times in Hungary. He's looking for that race to kind of get his season going a little bit. Maybe he has a push. We've seen George Russell potentially do some good things here. So keep that in mind here. Again, that's the Hungarian Grand Prix in Formula One. And then last but not least, we have the IMSA Road America Motorsports Grand Prix is the 8th round of the WeatherTech Sports Championship out in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. And this is one where you're going to see all 4 of the IMSA classes have a sprint format. So if you're looking for racing that has some chaos and sprints and all those things, that's what you're going to want to watch. And especially Porsche Penske Motorsports. They have been undefeated at this track over the last couple of years. So can Penske continue their run? We've seen Penske kind of struggle in other forms of racing. They have not been at Road America. In terms of the racers, Matt Campbell and Matthew Jaminet have the lead over Felipe Nasser and Nick Tandy. So, but remember, it's only 12 points. So this should be a lot of fun going into this event. And, of course, when both these guys being teammates, kind of going against each other, that always creates a little bit of drama when you have teammates versus teammates. Other thing to look at, GTD Pro is Dyno Powers. You have the AO Racing Porsche 911 GT3 with Lauren Heinrich and Klaus Bachler. Right now, they trail the GTD Pro by 39 points. We'll see if they can make a move this week. And then in Wright Motorsports, Adelson and Skier have been struggling, so they will try to finish up on a good note as well. And then finally, but it's a cool event here, SummerSlam out at MetLife Stadium this weekend. So wrestling in New York City. So that should be a lot of fun if you're a wrestling fan. I'm sure you've already got your tickets and checking that out. But we've had a lot of fun here on the show. Thanks to the Ritter combo, Josh Ritter and Glenn Ritter, for hopping in with me in the chat. That was a lot of fun as well. Again, we got baseball in full swing. We're past the trade deadline. We're looking forward to what's going to happen over the final 2 months of the season. What trades are going to end up working out, which teams. We talked about the Mariners did a good job. Phillies, Mets, Yankees, Padres. I would throw the Tigers in there. I know they took a lot of heat, but Kyle Finnegan and Charlie Morton did a solid acquisition. And then over time what the Sellers are doing, but we're just kind of months away from expanded rosters, a month away from really the pennant. Please hit in full swing. I think that's when we talk about baseball. First football. We got the Hall of Fame ceremonies this weekend. Just coming out earlier on Canton, Ohio. Should be a lot of emotional speeches, a lot of great look back in the career of our Hall of Famers. Be sure to watch that on ESPN over the weekend. But we have the Hall of Fame game, and next week we get to preview football on the show. We got preseason football next week. We're going to have the what rookies you should watch and all those fun things that we're going to keep our close eye on with the preseason. We're only a few weeks away from week 0 in college football. Got some good gridiron between their WNBA. Nathan Inches speaking of links to go out the Aces once again. Trade deadline Thursday. We'll be after that next week. League's Cup, of course, we have a knockout stage then. We'll talk about that. NWSL is back tonight. We have a trade promo mentioned WNBA. EJ Tour is going to be in the playoffs this week. Coming up next week, so we'll preview that. And so much more. And again, I want to hear from you this week. What is on your team guys? You play with on my team guys as well. But what are some bold bricks you want to watch? You're going to send them to me throughout the week. That's Favorite555 on X. Looking for Baseball 6. Tune in every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Myself, Mike Patton, all the day at the latest in baseball. We'll have a great recap of trade deadline next week. We also did predictions. So you can look back at last week and tell us what we got wrong. But of course, be sure to follow us on X, TikTok, YouTube at IE Sports Radio. Hit that like button, subscribe. Tune into our awesome shows, opening series, second inning, fun. Midweek Mania is going to be next week. That's going to be fun with Aaron and Ryan. So follow all of our great insiders who will go to work as well. Larry B and all the guys, Sports Radio, Ricky K, saying a great rest of your weekend. I'll see you back here next week.